The internet didn't just react, it erupted when Pooh Shiesty's name suddenly got dragged into NBA YoungBoy's already chaotic orbit. One post, one comment, one connection that fans swear was never supposed to cross paths. And just like that, a situation that should have stayed quiet turned into full-blown industry drama with emotions, egos, and loyalty all hanging by a thread. It started subtly, too subtly, a like that shouldn't have been there, a follow that raised eyebrows. Then whispers began spreading that Pooh Shiesty had allegedly crossed an invisible line involving NBA YoungBoy's baby mama. And in YoungBoy's world, that's not just disrespect, that's war territory. Fans immediately noticed the shift in energy. Cryptic captions, deleted posts, subliminal lyrics that felt a little too specific to be coincidence. What shocked everyone wasn't just the rumor, it was how fast it escalated. Old tensions resurfaced. Allegiances were questioned. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds with fans picking sides and warning that this could get ugly if it didn't get addressed fast. People who follow YoungBoy know one thing. He doesn't play about loyalty, and he definitely doesn't play about women connected to him. Then came the reactions, or lack of them. Pooh Shiesty stayed quiet. YoungBoy posted something vague but heavy enough to make fans nervous. And suddenly, insiders started whispering that this wasn't just internet chatter. Something real may have gone down behind the scenes. Now everyone's asking the same question. Did Pooh Shiesty really cross a line that can't be uncrossed? Or is this another case of social media stirring chaos where none was meant to exist? Because if this situation is what fans think it is, this could explode in ways nobody is ready for. The moment Pooh Shiesty's name started trending alongside NBA YoungBoy's, people knew this wasn't going to be a small internet misunderstanding. This wasn't a random fan theory or a reach pulled from thin air. This felt like one of those situations where something happened quietly, someone noticed, and now everyone is trying to piece together the truth before it explodes out in the open. It began with what fans now call the slip, a social media interaction that shouldn't have happened, at least not in the public eye, a like on a post that wasn't neutral, a follow that raised eyebrows. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. But in today's world, nothing ever really disappears. Screenshots were already circulating, and once those screenshots hit the group chats, the speculation took on a life of its own. NBA YoungBoy's fans are some of the most observant on the internet. They noticed the shift almost immediately. The tone of his posts changed. The energy felt darker, not explosive yet just tense. The kind of tension that comes before something breaks. And when people started connecting Pooh Shiesty's name to one of YoungBoy's baby mamas, the conversation crossed into dangerous territory. Because in YoungBoy's world, that's not just personal, that's sacred. According to whispers spreading through fan circles and blog comment sections, the issue wasn't necessarily about romance. Not at first. It was about proximity, familiarity, boundaries that fans believe should never be crossed, especially between artists who are supposed to exist in separate lanes. The allegation wasn't "they're together." It was "why are you even there?" That distinction mattered. Older fans, especially women who have watched these cycles repeat in hip-hop for decades, recognized the warning signs instantly. Situations like this rarely start with something obvious. They start with access, with comfort, with someone feeling a little too entitled to step into a space they were never invited into. Pooh Shiesty's silence only added fuel to the fire. No clarification, no denial, no joking it off. And that quiet felt intentional. Fans debated whether he was ignoring the noise because it was baseless, or because responding would only make things worse. Either way, the lack of response allowed speculation to grow unchecked. NBA YoungBoy didn't say much either, but what he did post was enough to make people nervous. A vague message about loyalty, about people showing their true colors, about snakes moving quietly. No names were mentioned, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Fans immediately began tagging Pooh Shiesty in the comments, asking questions that went unanswered. And when YoungBoy deleted the post not long after, it only intensified the feeling that something real had been touched. Insider-sounding accounts began whispering about behind-the-scenes tension. Allegedly, people close to YoungBoy felt blindsided, not necessarily betrayed, but disrespected. One comment that spread rapidly claimed, "It's not about her. It's about him knowing better." That line resonated deeply because it reframed the narrative. This wasn't about jealousy. It was about boundaries and codes. Hip-hop has always operated on unspoken rules, and one of the oldest is this: don't involve yourself in another man's personal situation, especially when children are involved. Even the appearance of crossing that line can be enough to spark conflict, regardless of intent. Fans began revisiting old moments between the two camps, looking for signs they missed. Lyrics that suddenly felt pointed. Old interviews where respect was emphasized a little too hard. And once that kind of hindsight kicks in, every interaction becomes suspicious. Social media chaos followed quickly. Twitter threads stretched for miles. TikTok videos broke down timelines with alarming confidence. Some fans warned this could turn ugly if it wasn't addressed directly. Others accused the internet of manufacturing drama where none existed. But even the skeptics admitted something felt off. The baby mama at the center of the rumors stayed completely silent. That silence became its own statement, even if it wasn't meant to be. People projected everything onto it: guilt, innocence, fear, maturity. In situations like this, women often become symbols instead of people, and many older viewers called that out immediately. Still, the focus remained on the men and what their actions, or lack thereof, might mean. According to alleged leaks, mutual associates were already stepping in quietly, trying to calm things down before it escalated publicly. No one wanted this to turn into a full-blown industry beef. Not over rumors, not over assumptions, but when pride and perception get involved, logic doesn't always win. What made this situation especially volatile was timing. Pooh Shiesty already carries a complicated public narrative. NBA YoungBoy is known for reacting emotionally when he feels disrespected. That combination alone was enough to make fans uneasy. People started saying, "This needs to be shut down now before it goes too far." But no one shut it down. And in the absence of clarity, the story kept growing. Each silence made the rumors feel heavier. Each vague post felt more pointed. Each deleted comment felt like confirmation to someone somewhere. By the end of this first wave, one thing was clear. Whether this situation was real, exaggerated, or completely misunderstood, it had already crossed into dangerous territory. The kind where perception alone can cause fallout. The kind where relationships change even if nothing ever happened. And as fans waited to see who would speak first, Pooh Shiesty or NBA YoungBoy, the tension hung thick in the air. Because once lines are believed to be crossed in public, walking it back is never easy. And the next move could decide whether this stays internet noise or turns into something much bigger. As the second wave of the story took shape, the mood around it shifted from curiosity to caution. What had started as speculation was now being treated like a live wire, something everyone could feel humming, even if no one could quite see where it would spark. According to people watching closely, this was the phase where both camps realized that even if nothing serious had happened, the perception alone was already doing damage. The biggest change was in NBA YoungBoy's energy. Fans noticed it immediately. His posts became shorter, sharper. The tone wasn't explosive, but it was unmistakably defensive. Messages about loyalty, respect, and people playing both sides appeared and disappeared just as quickly. To longtime followers, that pattern was familiar. It wasn't a meltdown. It was restraint, barely held in place. And restraint in YoungBoy's world usually means something is being handled behind the scenes. According to alleged insiders, conversations were happening quietly among mutual associates. Not confrontations, but warnings. The kind meant to cool things down before they turned public. One widely shared comment from someone claiming to know both circles said, "This ain't about clout, this is about lines." Whether true or not, that sentiment echoed everywhere. This wasn't framed as jealousy, it was framed as principle. Pooh Shiesty's silence grew heavier by the hour. At first, fans assumed he'd brush it off eventually, maybe post something dismissive, maybe laugh it off. But he didn't. No jokes, no indirects, no y'all reaching. For some, that silence read as guilt. For others, it read as strategy. And for many, it simply raised the question, why not clear it up if it's nothing? Older fans, especially women who have seen situations like this play out before, recognize the danger in that quiet. Silence can be respectful. It can also be misread. And when pride is involved, misreading can escalate fast. The rumor itself began to morph. What started as Pooh Shiesty and YoungBoy's baby mama became 1,000 different versions depending on who told it. Some said it was a DM. Others claimed it was an in-person run-in. A few insisted it was nothing more than a casual hello that got blown out of proportion. The lack of facts created space for imagination to run wild. And imagination is rarely kind. The baby mama at the center of it all remained completely offline. No posts, no responses, no subtweets. That absence frustrated some fans and impressed others. Many women in the comments defended her, pointing out how often women are dragged into male conflicts and turned into targets without ever being asked their side. Still, her silence became part of the narrative, whether she wanted it to or not. Meanwhile, YoungBoy's supporters were getting louder. They framed the situation as disrespect, plain and simple, not because of romance but because of access. "You don't get close to what's mine," one comment read, "even if nothing happened." That line was repeated across platforms because it captured the emotional logic many fans believed YoungBoy was operating under. On the other side, Pooh Shiesty's supporters pushed back, arguing that the internet was inventing a conflict to pit two artists against each other. They questioned why YoungBoy's camp hadn't shut the rumor down directly if it was truly serious. "If it's real, say it. If it's fake, end it," one fan wrote. That demand for clarity echoed loudly, but clarity never came. Industry figures began weighing in indirectly. A veteran rapper tweeted about respecting family boundaries in the game. A producer posted, "Some situations don't need music, they need maturity." No names, no tags, but the timing made the message feel pointed. These weren't fans chasing drama. These were people who'd seen how quickly situations like this can spiral out of control. According to an alleged insider, YoungBoy was especially sensitive because of past situations where trust had been tested. Whether fair or not, that history colored how this rumor landed. What might have been brushed off by someone else hit him differently. And when someone feels repeatedly disrespected, even small things can feel enormous. Pooh Shiesty's camp was rumored to be urging him to stay quiet, not because the rumor was true, but because engaging could escalate it into something much bigger. In hip-hop, responding can be seen as challenging, and challenges, once public, don't stay verbal for long. That advice made sense strategically, but emotionally it left fans and critics filling in the blanks themselves. The internet, meanwhile, was doing what it does best, choosing sides. Threads broke down hip-hop codes. TikTok creators explained why this situation was serious. Others mocked the whole thing as overblown, but even the skeptics admitted something felt unresolved, not explosive, but unsettled, like a room where everyone's pretending nothing happened, while tension hangs thick in the air. The most chilling development came when fans noticed YoungBoy unfollowed someone loosely connected to Pooh Shiesty. It wasn't a direct move, it wasn't dramatic, but it was noticed, and in this context it was interpreted as a signal. People began saying, "It's already personal." Whether that was true or not, the belief alone was enough to keep the story alive. By this point, the narrative had shifted again. This wasn't just about a baby mama or a rumor. It was about respect in a culture that thrives on image and perception, about how easily lines can be crossed, or believed to be crossed, without a single word being spoken. And with both artists refusing to address it directly, the pressure continued to build. Because when silence meets speculation, the internet doesn't wait for truth. It decides its own. And as this chapter closed, fans knew one thing for sure. If this situation wasn't handled carefully, the next move, whether intentional or accidental, could turn quiet tension into open conflict. And once that happens, there's no rewinding the moment it breaks. By the time the third phase of this situation unfolded, the conversation had moved past rumor and into something far more dangerous. Interpretation hardened into belief. It didn't matter that no one had confirmed anything. It didn't matter that there were no receipts, no screenshots that proved wrongdoing, no statements naming names. What mattered was how the silence was being read. And once the public starts reading silence as intention, the emotional stakes rise fast. NBA YoungBoy's camp became noticeably more guarded. According to people watching closely, the tone around him shifted from warning to withdrawal. Fewer posts, less engagement, a sense of pulling inward. That kind of retreat is familiar to longtime followers. It's what happens when frustration turns into calculation. Not rage, not chaos, calculation. And in a world where every move is scrutinized, that shift alone was enough to keep fans on edge. Pooh Shiesty, meanwhile, stayed locked in the same posture, quiet, distant, unreachable. For some, that quiet became confirmation. For others, it was proof the situation was being exaggerated beyond recognition. But even supporters began to admit something uncomfortable. If the goal was to make this go away, silence hadn't done the job. The longer it went unaddressed, the more the narrative solidified in the public mind. And that's the trap. Once people believe they understand what's happening, even if they're wrong, they stop waiting for answers. The baby mama at the center of the speculation remained absent from the conversation entirely. No statements, no indirects, no reaction. That absence became the most human part of the story for many women watching, because it highlighted how often women become collateral in male pride battles, talked about, argued over, and analyzed without ever being asked how they feel. Comment sections began changing tone. Less excitement, more concern. People weren't cheering for drama anymore. They were worried about escalation, about how situations like this have historically ended when they're allowed to simmer unchecked. Women who had watched hip-hop cycles for decades began saying the same thing. This is how things go left. Industry voices grew quieter too. The indirect tweets stopped. The cautionary posts faded. That silence from peers felt intentional, like people stepping back from something that no longer felt like entertainment. When those who understand the culture go quiet, it usually means they sense volatility. According to alleged whispers, mutual contacts were still trying to keep the peace, not by forcing statements but by encouraging distance. The idea was simple: let time cool it down. Let the internet move on. Don't feed the fire. That approach has worked before, but it only works if nothing else reignites it. Fans watched every move for signs. Who followed who unfollowed who liked what, who didn't. Every digital breadcrumb was treated like evidence, even when it wasn't. And in that environment, even neutral actions felt loaded. The most telling shift came when fans stopped asking what happened and started asking what happens next. That question changes everything, because what happened looks backward. What happens next anticipates conflict, and anticipation is dangerous. Some fans began urging both artists to speak, not to explain, but to diffuse. Others warned that speaking could escalate things further. The debate revealed a deeper truth. There was no perfect move left. Every option carried risk. If YoungBoy addressed it, it could be seen as a challenge. If Pooh Shiesty addressed it, it could be seen as admission. If neither spoke, the internet would keep deciding for them. And so, the stalemate continued. What made this chapter especially tense was the absence of drama in the traditional sense. No diss tracks, no live rants, no public confrontations. Just a heavy quiet that felt like two sides choosing restraint while the audience waited for rupture. Women in the audience began reframing the story altogether. They talked less about artists and more about ego, about how pride can turn small misunderstandings into permanent fractures, about how respect isn't just about actions, it's about awareness. And once awareness is questioned, trust follows. By the end of this phase, the story had lost its spectacle but gained weight. It wasn't trending like before. It wasn't dominating timelines, but it lingered. Because unresolved tension doesn't disappear, it settles. And whether this situation fades quietly or resurfaces louder depends on something no fan can control: how the people involved choose to move when the cameras aren't watching. For now, all anyone can say is this: no lines were publicly confirmed as crossed. No accusations were officially made. But something shifted. And in hip-hop culture, once energy changes, it rarely returns to what it was. This may not end in noise. It may end in distance. And sometimes that's the clearest outcome of all. If you stayed to the end, it's because you can feel this story isn't just about rumors or social media drama. It's about how fast situations can spiral when silence, pride, and perception collide. What we're watching isn't a blow-up yet, but something quieter and sometimes more dangerous. Tension that never gets cleared, energy that shifts without explanation, and lines that people believe were crossed whether they were or not. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think this situation has been blown completely out of proportion by the internet? Or do you believe there's a reason so many people felt uneasy watching this unfold? Was silence the smartest move for both sides? Or did it allow the narrative to harden in a way that can't be undone? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because these conversations don't happen in a vacuum, and a lot of people see pieces of real life reflected in moments like this. Make sure you like this video so the discussion doesn't disappear, and subscribe with notifications turned on. If either side finally decides to speak, if something new surfaces, or if this quiet tension turns into something much bigger, you'll want to hear it as it happens, not after the story's already changed again. Because in situations like this, the silence might feel calm now, but calm doesn't always mean it's over.